At any moment, at any time, this could all go away. And it could go away because there are some sociopathic, crazy, insane individuals called politicians that literally want to rule over you, subjugate you, and hate humanity. Wow. Okay, maybe Boston isn't that big of a crap hole like I said it was. Well, yeah, it's still a crap hole, but in this video, I wanted to do another kind of walk and talk stream of consciousness video talking about some of the more kind of beautiful parts and elements of Boston, which I think are pretty spectacular, pretty incredible. And I think I found one of the few places in Boston that isn't a complete crap hole. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still drug use, there's still drug dens, there's even full entire logs of crap that are put on monuments and celebrated here. But this beauty here, this kind of nature that we're all kind of experiencing right now in the middle of this big urban area and environment, really does highlight how we are extremely privileged and lucky in the Western world. How these moments, because I had a moment to myself just sitting there to my own thoughts for like an hour, sitting with my back arched up against the tree, touching grass, enjoying watching the ducks and everyone else kind of go about their day. Through my kind of conversation, I'm like, wow, this is actually really beautiful. And even shooting a prior video where I was kind of walking outside of my hotel, you got the city, you got the piss smell, you got construction, you got the loud noises. As soon as I walked in here, there was like, there's this kind of very peaceful, very kind of respectful, very kind of beautiful kind of energy that definitely captivated me and motivated me to do the majority of my walk and talks here in this general vicinity. And during these nature walks, I'm like crapping on Bali, like, it sucks here, they're horrible, the people suck, and a bunch of intel agents and future intel agents and sports ball lunatics that are just love their balls. As we got a little squirrel here figuring out what to do with its nut. As one thing that automatically kind of came to mind walking, as the lady just said, oh my God, looking at my t-shirt. One of the things that kind of came to mind as we have all this kind of beauty, luxury, and just incredible, beautiful, wonderful nature all around us. The thing that automatically I started to kind of pontificate about is how these moments shouldn't be taken for granted. You should appreciate the moments of peace and calm and prosperity we have right now, because at any moment, at any time, this could all go away. And it could go away because there are some sociopathic, crazy, insane individuals called politicians that literally want to rule over you, subjugate you, and hate humanity, human life, and us procreating and expanding our consciousness and energy out there. There's literal eugenicists. There's literal people who believe in population control that control higher elements and higher aspects of our lives. And the most efficient way that they control this is through, of course, the creation of war, the creation of conflict. That, of course, right now is expanding and growing in places like Ukraine, where Slavic people are killing each other on behalf of politicians. Insane people who, of course, want to rule and decree over everyone else to the point where their kind of tax collection is so important to them that they're willing to leverage the lives of human beings in order to, of course, make sure that they're going to control that land, that territory, and their citizens, their property, which of course they see as their kind of literal own tax cattle. And the situations that are developing there are very troublesome. And it brings me to a conversation that I had here from who lives here, who definitely has an opposing viewpoint than mine, as we look here at as a statue of Edward Everett Hale. Pardon me. And the conversation was pretty interesting, since I was talking to my friend here, who it doesn't consume independent media, who's also from Europe, who had a totally different perspective and mindset than I did about the current ongoing situation, as the developments there are very troublesome. As today, this video is probably going to be released later, but today, the head of NATO said, hey, we got a lot of nuclear weapons. We got to start pimping them out. We got to start taking them out of the packages and setting them up to be ready to be used. We got to assemble them right now, as NATO also has 300,000 troops. There's a lot of European leaders coming out and saying, yeah, there's going to be a war. It's going to be a full-scale one. And the consequences of that, I think, haven't been really thought out by a lot of the Western leaders out there that are slowly walking us into a World War III apocalypse, doomsday-like scenario that will have moments like this that I'm having here very appreciative. As of course, when you're at war, especially with major global powers that have the ability to destroy the world many times over, it's game over. We saw what has happened to humanity before, especially with previous global world wars that were, in many instances, started on false pretenses, started with false flags. We saw how life could just upend like this. And this is why I'm always anti-war. This is why I don't believe in perpetuating this conflict. But the conversation that I had was kind of very eye-opening, because I told my friend, I was like, hey, you know, what's going on is horrible. There needs to be an end to this war. Vladimir Putin just proposed a peace deal. And then my friend was like, okay, yeah, but doesn't mean he gets to have his way. I'm like, never said he did. And the major consensus that this person had was, no, Russia must do this, this, and this, and that the current strategy is that the West is trying to weaken Russia to the point where they kind of just give up their positions, give up their military bases, and just walk out of there, which is the kind of mainline kind of consensus of what the West is trying to do with Russia. And to me, it's not a smart kind of consensus. This can't play out just like the Cold War did. History rhymes, it doesn't always repeat, but to think that this is going to end just like the Cold War, just by us overspending out the Russians, is a ridiculous concept that puts us very close towards perpetual future war and conflict that could upend and change the world many times over to the point of utter calamity and full out utter destruction. This is not going to play out like it did before, as of course now there's other international players on the world stage, like India, like Iran and China, that are partnering and doing business with Russia, that has a lot of natural resources. Another kind of misnomer by the general kind of consensus crowd out there that isn't consuming independent media, that's consuming everything else, is that Putin is just a sociopath. He's willing to kill as many people as he wants. And then I kind of had to be like, well, Putin is also begging his population to have children, as of course they're also below replacement levels. And he's begging a lot of the Russians to have children. And he's doing this because he sees the larger kind of population doom and collapse that's going to be happening soon, that the West isn't addressing. That many powerful institutions in the West are calling for and saying we need more of that. Saying, oh, you're a native-born white person in this European country? Stop having children for climate change. Which is a ridiculous, insane notion. Hey, the sun has many different cycles. And because you are white, you gotta stop having children. Those advertisements, those larger kind of PR marketing messages out there are very troublesome. As of course, you look at Russia, you have the opposite of that kind of messaging. Now again, the Russians aren't the good guys. The Russians started this war. This war also started in 2014. And my response to my friend was, look, Putin came with an offer for peace. Automatically, without contemplating it, without thinking about it, without even sending a counter offer. Zelensky and NATO said, nope, not gonna happen. What? And again, when you have a negotiation, you always have an offer, you have a counter offer, you have a sit down, you have talks and concessions. And to me, the win-win strategy is Ukraine's going to give up a little bit, Russia's going to give up a little bit. They're not going to get exactly what they want. Russia's not going to get what they want. Ukraine's not going to get exactly what they want. But we stop the war. We stop the death of so many of these innocent young Slavic men who are being maimed and destroyed by robots, flying in the air that there's barely any defenses for. How about we end this war? End the bloodshed, end the culling, end this larger kind of demonic sacrifice and loss of life of innocent human beings. How about we just stop it and concede a little bit? And my friend was like, nope, I want everything back. And I'm like, that's not how the world works. And for the West to think that they're just going to repeat the Cold War, to think that they're going to financially cripple and take out Russia, especially when they have stronger economic ties to the BRICS nations that are challenging the US petrodollar that was just taken off of the Saudi Arabian kind of petrodollar initiative here, highlights delusional thinking that absolutely has no merit in order to be ever taken seriously. It's clearly, this is kind of a pathway towards utter destruction, and a pathway that's not going to have a good ending. There's no way we could end this without some kind of concession, without some kind of resolution. And if you truly do care about this war not being expanded, and then my friend's counterpoint was like, well, Putin's just going to get what he wants, and then he's going to do more wars because we're going to concede more then. And I said that's a kind of nihilistic perspective, but I could also kind of understand that perspective. As of course in war, you can't concede too much. But the fact that there's not even a counteroffer or negotiations in order to try to make some kind of deal. And again, no one's going to be happy, but they don't have to be happy. They just have to stop murdering people and stop bringing us on the precipice of an entire world war conflict. This, as we have the POV and missing in action flag fly over this building and a monument here towards what looks like Union soldiers with black people fighting alongside of them, which again, probably another historical extrapolation and manipulation in order to fit the current woke status kind of gestures towards the larger kind of corporately approved diverse messages. Ridiculous. There's literally a drug den there and a huge statue dedicated to a piece of crap. Now, I'm not calling MLK a piece of crap. The statue literally is just two hands holding a big piece of crap. MLK, interesting individual, we'll get into him later, spied on by the FBI. A lot of underhanded things, COINTELPRO, but of course he probably was taken out by the feds, as ruled by even a criminal court case that happened here within the United States that found the US government guilty in his assassination. Huh. Interesting. Fascinating. But yeah, Those little moments you have in nature, take them. We're going to be doing a nature hike. This video might come out when we're doing the nature hike. But your memberships literally help spur on pay for these nature hikes, these conversations, and this moment. And this just little reminder to you, hey guys, enjoy the prosperity, enjoy the peace we have now. Because very soon, at any moment, it can be taken away from you. And when it does, you're going to be missing and lacking these very moments that I just had in nature to yourself in total quiet and total peace and total quiet. Because they could go at any moment and any time. So appreciate everything that you have. Oh look, another library, museum, cultural center. More like a propaganda center. Again, so much of human history is war, conflict, poverty, destruction of currencies, upheaval, that when you start reading, you start getting more worried about the future. But as a human being, enjoy the peace, enjoy the prosperity, live it to the fullest, because at any moment it could be gone. So just a little reminder. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more. Gosh darn, these trans flags are everywhere. Enjoy it while you still have it. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more.